Disney has finally released the new trailer for their upcoming Snow White live-action remake, and we need to talk about it. So, eagle-eyed fans have probably seen this thing floating around on the internet for a little while now. Disney officially released this trailer alongside Wicked in theatres 2 weeks back, and of course a cam rip wound up leaked online, and then somehow a full HD leak also appeared online. But now Disney has officially made the trailer available. As you know, I have a pretty solid rule over here that I don't report on or show leaks, so now I'm comfortable talking about this. Because everyone has seen this, I'm not going to do a full breakdown, but instead, now that I can, I'm just going to talk about a few things that are standing out to me here. I've been experimenting a little bit on the channel recently, so usually I would script a video like this. I'm just going to kind of go off the cuff. If you like this kind of more informal, relaxed kind of overview of a trailer, let me know and maybe I'll do more of them in the future. I've been a fan of these Disney remakes to sort of varying degrees. Some of them I really like, others I'm just really quite lukewarm on. I don't think there's really been any that I didn't like straight out, other than the Alice in Wonderland movies, which I could just never really get behind. Snow White, to me, judging on this trailer, feels like it's going to be another one that I'm probably not going to like. I don't know if this is just because I'm such a huge fan of the original Snow White movie. Walt's 1937 classic is one of my favourite movies of all time. It's certainly up there in my top 5 Walt Disney animation films ever. I adore the movie. I feel like it just absolutely drips with Disney magic and nostalgia. It's just one of the most perfectly made films of all time. Watching this, I feel kind of pessimistic, and I don't know if it's that I'm getting older and just genuinely more pessimistic, or whether I'm finally starting to see what a lot of people have seen in these live action remakes sort of all along. These things are a juggernaut, or at one point were a juggernaut at the box office. They were banking $1 billion a piece. They've sort of slowed down in how much money they're making recently. The Little Mermaid was kind of a little bit of a more lukewarm hit. But this thing right here, it just kind of feels devoid of that life and magic of the original Walt Disney classic. And I know this is only a trailer and it's kind of harsh to judge based on like a 2-minute highlight reel sort of thing. But nothing about this is like screaming out to me as like the next Disney classic. Look, I don't really want to join in on the pile-on here, because I know this movie has faced various controversies throughout its production timeline. Many of them I think are really just completely stupid. For one, I think Rachel Zegler looks like a perfect candidate for Snow White. She has got a stunning voice. If you've seen West Side Story, you know that she knows how to hold a tune. And I think she sort of really quite epitomizes the look and the feel of this character. I don't have anything against the way she's portraying the character here. I also think that Gal Gadot is a really good fit for the evil queen here. She is sleek. She has got that real sort of evil aura around her. In portraying this role here, I think she really kind of fits into this quite well. I'm really kind of interested and looking forward to seeing the dynamic these two share on the screen. The dwarves, on the other hand, I am not sold on yet. When we first saw them, Disney released a first look image of these guys a little while ago, and even then I thought these guys look a little bit like nightmare fuel. We're finally getting proper looks at them in motion, in live action, and geez, these guys don't look any better. They do look quite uncanny valley. We're talking about stuff like Polar Express, Mars Needs Moms. They utilized the motion capture stuff, and those characters in those movies always just came off as really quite creepy. And I feel like we're seeing a return to that here in these dwarfs. They just don't look quite right to me. I don't like the Uncanny Valley stuff. It makes me really quite scared, and I feel like I'm going to just spend like 2 hours in the cinema feeling quite scared by these guys. Other than that, I feel like we've been having an issue with Hollywood lately where they are maybe a little bit too afraid to make things look nice and colourful. And there is colour in this, and I feel like it's more colourful than maybe some recent blockbusters have been that should have been more colourful. but it also just doesn't hit that real heightened, beautiful, colourful magic that you're really expecting from a Disney movie. Half of this looks quite nice and the other half of it's quite bleak. And I mean, this is a story of oppression, and this girl comes from a really hard background, so I imagine the kind of bleaker looking stuff probably takes place earlier in the movie, or you know, in the Magic Kingdom where everyone is somewhat more oppressed by the evil queen, and that's okay. And then we've got the fantasy world, which looks a little bit more colourful. We don't get a whole lot of that. I'm just hoping that in the film itself it comes forward a bit more cheery and a little bit more of that Disney magic. There's some shots in here where I just feel like they're not as colourful as they should be. And this isn't a criticism that I usually take with stuff, but I'm starting to see it with a lot of films here. This minecart sequence, it feels like they're trying to shove in a minecart chase because of the attraction at Disneyland. It's this cross-platform promotion that Disney has really excelled in for decades. But they've gone, hey look, we're making this movie about Snow White. How can we tie this into the attraction at the theme parks? Overall, I am not completely sold on this, but I don't, completely dislike what I'm seeing here. Again, this is just a trailer, it's just like a 2-minute highlight reel. But so much of this just feels so devoid of magic and charm to me. This feels more like those Universal Snow White movies from a few years ago, Snow White and the Huntsman, The Winter's War. It must have come out about a decade or so ago now. Even the costumes and stuff, like we look at the Evil Queen, it really reminds me of the kind of elaborate costumes that Charlize Theron wore in those movies. I kind of feel like they're trying to avoid some of the more schmaltzy Disney stuff with this, and they've gone in a direction which has actually pushed it closer to the Universal adaptation of the Snow White story, which is kind of interesting to see because we saw those movies all that time ago, and I'd always wondered, I wonder what a live-action Disney take on this story would look like. And now we finally see it, and it's actually really quite similar to what Universal did with those movies. But then on the other hand, there is some really goofy stuff in here with dwarfs, which almost feels like a different movie to the rest of what we're seeing here. Again, we don't have a whole lot to go by here, and I don't want to be too harsh on this, but I'm not getting that feeling of real excitement and anticipation from this. I'm not sure I'm going to be so won over by Snow White. But look, this movie comes out early next year, and I am looking forward to seeing it. I might not be excited for the movie, but I'm looking forward to seeing the movie and kind of making my own opinion up on it. I'm going to go in with an open mind. You can never really judge on trailers. They are almost never indicative of the final product that we're going to get. But based on what we're seeing here, I'm not sure I'm totally in love with how Disney has adapted this. I think maybe it's something that just doesn't translate to live action that well, perhaps. But look, it comes out in a few months' time, and I'm going to see it, and I'm going to review it, and hopefully we're going to like it. And at that, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the Snow White trailer? Are you looking forward to this movie, or do you think this just looks really bad? As always, join the conversation down below.